The Denon DHT-S218 is touted as a full range Dolby Atmos soundbar despite only having 2.1 channel configuration. Now, at the time of filming and in the UK it can be found for £250, while in the US it can be found for $250. In this review you can see if it's actually worth its price tag and of course how it compares to some of its key competitors. So to kick things off, I would like to talk about its design, and here it's got an all black finish, and towards the front you have got a grey black fabric material. It's also pretty slim and therefore doesn't obscure any of my lower portion of my TV viewing experience. It's sitting in front of the Samsung QE65QN95B. Now, better still, I also love the fact there are a few physical buttons that are positioned at the top of it, and you've also got a small little remote, which allows you further degree of customization, such as switching between the different audio profiles. Moving swiftly on, we get onto connectivity, and here it's great to see that you have got both an auxiliary and also an optical input for those more legacy devices. And you've also got an HDMI input, which will feed through 4K HDR and also supports the likes of Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, among some of the other Dolby metadatas. Now, you have also got an HDMI eARC/ARC output to your television, which is of course preferred if you want the utmost audio fidelity. Now, on that note, it is disappointing that you do not have Wi-Fi, which would have been able to play back higher quality music via a wireless transmission, for example via the likes of Apple AirPlay or Google Chromecast, but you do have Bluetooth. Now, the manufacturer says that it's got Bluetooth low energy and has therefore improved the overall Bluetooth quality, although it is surprising that you've only got the lowest quality SBC codec. So therefore you'll only want to use Bluetooth sparingly, for example if you've got friends or family who come over and just want to quickly pair up and play back their favorite tunes. Now, with that in mind, let's go on to an audio demo. I'll be placing the microphone and the camera in front of the soundbar and playing back a track which is from Priya J titled Like Me and going through the different audio profiles. I'll then go to a piece to camera where I'll be presenting the Polestar 3 on Totally EV, and I'll be going through the different dialogue modes. Make sure you check out the annotations on your screen to understand how the soundbar is actually operating. The Polestar 2 finally has a larger sibling. It's called the Polestar 3. Indeed, the SUV offers far greater capacity both in terms of the boot and also the amount of space you've got within the cabin. The price starts from £70,000, at least at the time filming and in the UK, and that is for the long range. If you want a dual motor, this will cost you roughly £75,000, and if you want dual motor it'll cost you upwards of £81,000. So in this review you can see if it's actually worth this price tag and how it compares to some of its key competitors. So to kick things off, let's talk about its electric range, and here is the 111 kilowatt hour battery pack. 107 kilowatt hour is actually usable, and that comes fitted as standard across the entire trim range. Now, I appreciate an audio demo over YouTube isn't ideal, but I thought to provide it as it gives you a bit of a taster as to what to expect. Now, in terms of its speaker configuration, you have got 6 audio drivers with a 2.1 channel setup. To be more specific, you have got 2 25mm tweeters and then 2 90 by 40mm racetrack mid-range drivers, and then finally 2 downward facing 75mm subwoofers. Now, its combination does yield for a pretty engaging experience, but let me break it down in terms of the overall sound frequency range. Now first off, in terms of the sub-bass tones, those downward facing woofers do a decent job, but of course in this respect they are not going to compete with a soundbar system that has a dedicated subwoofer, including from Denon themselves. It is nice, however, to see that the S218 has got a subwoofer output, and therefore means that if you have got, let's say, a hi-fi subwoofer, you can actually plug it in directly to the soundbar in order to get that extra bit of low-end grunt. Now, what I'm trying to say over here is that the overall sub-bass tones are cut short, and if that's something that you're looking for, then you might want to look at upgrading this system, or of course just looking elsewhere. Now in terms of the overall mid-bass tones, they are pretty punchy. In my case, I actually reduced the bass EQ by a few notches, and I found it to be actually pretty nice. It's got that sort of hearty, warmy sound that allowed me to appreciate some R&B, D&B and EDM tracks. But of course, make no mistake, given its overall price point, it's not going to compete with more expensive soundbars out there on the market. Now in terms of its overall mid-range, this was something where it was a little bit let down because it's a bit recessed and pushed back and therefore has got that bit more of that warmer sound signature, but in the grander scheme of things and for a soundbar of its price point, it's not too bad. If I were, however, to be a little bit more analytical and compare it to the likes of, let's say, the Sonos Ray, it doesn't quite compete in terms of giving you that real forward mid-range frequency that one might expect when it comes to listening to any sort of dialogue. Now you might be quick to say, what about that dialogue enhancer that you played with? Well, yes indeed, it does really bring out the vocals to the foreground, but it does affect the rest of the frequency range. As a result, when it came to listening back to, let's say, a piece to camera or the news, I actually ended up just going on the music profile because I felt that it was a little bit well-rounded in terms of the entire frequency range, all while not hampering the mid-range all that much in comparison to, for example, the pure, the movie, or indeed the night modes. Now in terms of the highs, they actually extend relatively well towards the top end. They do sound slightly rolled off, but you get that nice sort of zingy sound, which will be appreciated. It's a shame, however, that you cannot EQ the treble separately like you can do with the bass. In terms of the overall soundstage, it's certainly there, at least for a soundbar of its size, and in terms of its overall price, it's good, where you've got a decent amount of instrument separation and a good sort of width and depth, at least if you're just, let's say, watching regular terrestrial or HD television, or indeed watching a YouTube video like this one. Now with that in mind, I would like to give you a Dolby Atmos demo. I'll be placing the camera and microphone yet again in front of the soundbar and playing back Transformers Age of Extinctions. Make sure you check out the annotations on your screen to understand when I'm switching between Dolby Atmos and Dolby Digital. Dolby Atmos is certainly appreciated, and hopefully you were able to tell via these audio demos that Dolby Atmos really did bring everything a little bit into life. However, make no mistake that this soundbar is not really a Dolby Atmos soundbar. Sure enough, it can decode Dolby Atmos like it did, but it's not going to compete with real Dolby Atmos systems, be it soundbars or indeed ones which have got that hi-fi setup where you've got ceiling speakers as well. I actually find it very disappointing that Denon has kind of dropped down the ball and actually included Dolby Atmos and labeled it as a full range Dolby Atmos soundbar, because I only expected this from lesser known manufacturers such as the likes of Majority, where I've recently reviewed their soundbar, and also they had Dolby Atmos support, and yet again it supported it, but it didn't really give you that Dolby Atmos experience. So if the marketing of Dolby Atmos has grabbed you, well, just kind of forget about it. Sure, it's going to be a little bit better in comparison to Dolby Surround or Dolby Digital, but it's not exactly a night and day difference like you find on actual upward firing, sideward firing soundbars that really do deliver a heightened sense of feel and therefore give you that real cinematic experience. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say over here is that the S218 does a decent job across the sound frequency range, and while Dolby Atmos is supported, it's not exactly really the Dolby Atmos experience that one might expect. Now in terms of my recommendation, I would actually look elsewhere, even including from Denon themselves. They make some nice soundbars which also include subwoofers, and they just make a lot more sense, at least in my opinion, at this price point. Let alone if you look elsewhere, you've got a few alternatives that you might want to consider, some of which I've reviewed and will be down in the description below for your own consideration. Now I'd be curious to know what you make of the S218 down in the comment section below, and of course if you've enjoyed this detailed independent review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.